His career on making deals, decided the best deal was the one where America came out on top, no matter the cost. Thus began his trade war, a policy earthquake that sent tremors through the global economy. Trump slapped tariffs on steel and aluminum, primarily targeting China. He argued it was to protect American jobs. Critics called it economic suicide. Whatever the motive, the consequences were undeniable. The OECD, the economic brain trust of developed nations, painted a bleak picture. Their latest report was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the fragility of our interconnected global economy. The findings were not just numbers on a page, they were a forecast of the challenges that lay ahead for millions of people. Global growth, already fragile, was predicted to slow to a crawl. The bustling metropolises that once symbolized economic vitality were now facing an uncertain future. Stock markets, the barometers of economic health, showed signs of distress, and business districts, once teeming with activity, were eerily quiet. North America, home turf, would feel the heat most acutely. From the sprawling cities to the serene countryside, the impact would be felt across the continent. The highways, once bustling with commerce, would see a slowdown as economic activity waned. The U.S. economy, the supposed beneficiary of Trump's policies, was projected to sputter to a mere 1.6% growth by 2026. Factories that once hummed with activity were now silent, and retail spaces that once buzzed with shoppers were empty. The economic graph painted a sobering picture of slow growth and missed opportunities. Canada, America's polite neighbor to the north, faced a similar fate, its economy shrinking to a paltry 0.7% growth. Small towns that once thrived on local industries were now struggling to stay afloat. The economic graph for Canada mirrored that of the U.S., showing a nation grappling with economic stagnation. But the real victim? Mexico. The country, which had been an economic engine in the region, was now facing a dire situation. Factories that once provided jobs and hope were now closed, and families were struggling to make ends meet. Their economy, once a vibrant engine, was forecast to contract by a gut-wrenching 1.3%. The empty manufacturing plants and deserted streets in industrial areas were a stark reminder of the economic challenges facing the nation. The economic graph showed a decline that was both alarming and disheartening. These weren't just numbers, they represented real jobs lost, real families struggling. The human cost of these economic forecasts was immense. Families were worried about their future. People were desperately searching for jobs, and community food banks were seeing an increase in demand. The economic downturn was not just a statistic, it was a reality that affected the lives of millions. Tariffs, those pesky taxes on imports, acted like gasoline on an already smoldering fire. Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum meant to cripple China ended up hurting everyone. See, these materials are the building blocks of, well, everything. Cars, washing machines, even beer cans. The tariffs made these goods more expensive to produce, and guess who paid the price? That's right, consumers. Prices soared. Inflation became a monster lurking under everyone's beds. The American dream, it seemed, was becoming increasingly out of reach. The fallout wasn't confined to North America. The ripple effects of the economic downturn spread far and wide, touching every corner of the globe. Across the Atlantic, the European Union, already grappling with its own set of problems, saw its economic prospects dim. The uncertainty surrounding Brexit, coupled with internal political strife, only exacerbated the situation. Growth, once projected at a respectable 1.2%, was downgraded to a measly 1%. This downgrade was a stark reminder of the fragility of the global economy and the interconnectedness of nations. China, the initial target of Trump's trade war, weathered the storm better than expected. Despite the tariffs and trade barriers, the Chinese economy showed remarkable resilience. Their economy, propped up by government spending and a shift towards domestic consumption, continued to grow, albeit at a slower pace. The Chinese government's strategic investments in technology and infrastructure played a crucial role in stabilizing the economy. India, the world's largest democracy, emerged as a potential bright spot. Amidst the global economic turmoil, India showcased its potential as a rising economic powerhouse. With its young population and booming tech sector, India's economy was projected to grow at a healthy clip, a testament to its resilience in a turbulent world. The country's focus on innovation and digital transformation provided a solid foundation for future growth. As the world watched, India positioned itself as a beacon of hope in an otherwise uncertain economic landscape. And Trump's trade war created uncertainty by the bucket load. Businesses, unsure of what the future held, slammed the brakes on investment. New factories were put on hold, expansion plans were shelved, and hiring slowed to a trickle. The long-term consequences were dire. Less investment meant fewer jobs, less innovation, and a slower overall economic recovery. It was a vicious cycle, and breaking it seemed like a Herculean task. Section 6. Escalation, Fears, a Looming Threat. As if things weren't bad enough, the possibility of the trade war escalating loomed like a dark cloud. The tension in the air was palpable, with every news headline adding to the growing sense of unease. People in the streets, once bustling with energy, now moved with a sense of dread, their faces etched with worry. The uncertainty of what lay ahead was almost too much to bear. Experts warned that further tariffs, particularly on consumer goods, could tip the global economy into a full-blown recession. Financial analysts, appearing on news broadcasts, painted a grim picture of the future. They spoke of potential job losses, increased prices for everyday items, and a slowdown in economic activity that could affect every corner of the globe. The stakes were incredibly high, and the margin for error was razor-thin. The U.S., despite Trump's claims of making it great again, would be hit particularly hard. Small businesses, the backbone of the American economy, were already feeling the strain. Storefronts that once thrived were now shuttered, and the sight of the American flag at half-mast served as a somber reminder of the nation's struggles. The promise of economic revival seemed increasingly out of reach. The cost, a staggering 0.7% drop in economic growth, translating to millions of jobs lost and a significant decline in living standards. Factories that once buzzed with activity now stood silent, their machines gathering dust. Offices that were once filled with the hum of productivity were now empty, and the lines of jobless people grew longer by the day. The human cost of the trade war was becoming painfully clear. It was a chilling reminder that trade wars, despite what some might claim, are not easy to win. The economic reports were bleak, filled with charts and graphs that told a story of decline and hardship. The aftermath of the financial crisis was still fresh in many minds, and the prospect of another downturn was almost too much to bear. The urban environment, once a symbol of progress and prosperity, now seemed distressed and desolate. The looming threat of escalation was a stark warning of the fragile nature of global economic stability. The OECD, ever the voice of reason, urged nations to step back from the brink. They called for dialogue, for cooperation, for a return to sanity. Reduce tariffs, they pleaded, support affected industries and workers, invest in education and training to prepare for the jobs of the future. Their recommendations were clear, sensible, and largely ignored. The allure of protectionism, it seemed, was too strong to resist. Section 8, Technological Hope. Can AI and robotics save the day? Amidst the gloom and doom, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source: technology. Advancements in artificial intelligence and robotics, once seen as a threat to jobs, now held the potential to boost productivity and create new industries. Imagine robots building solar panels, AI algorithms optimizing supply chains, and self-driving trucks delivering goods with unparalleled efficiency. This wasn't a guaranteed solution, but it offered a path forward, a way to navigate the choppy waters of the post-trade war economy. Section 9. A Trade War Legacy: Scars on the Global Economy. The trade war, even years after its initial salvos, left an indelible mark on the global economy. Growth remained sluggish, inflation stubbornly high, and the threat of future conflicts always simmering beneath the surface. The lesson? Trade wars are not a solution but a dangerous game with consequences that reverberate for years to come. As the world grappled with the aftermath, one thing was clear: the road to economic recovery would be long, arduous, and paved with the wreckage of broken promises.